friends, and welcome to another episode of Esoterica and Nonsense, a podcast where we discuss myths, legends, folk tales, fairy tales, supernatural phenomenon, and religions from around the world. I am your host, Annabelle. I'm your host, Annabelle, a cannibalistic cheese god. And I'm incredibly excited today. I'm excited because I have chosen Kappas as the topic of the day. Now, why Kappas? Because I love all troll affiliates and all trollish personalities. I cannot wait. And so, without further ado, let us begin the topic of Kappa. Kappas are a creature of Japanese folklore. The term Kappa literally means river child. Another word used to refer to them are the rawataro, which also means a river boy. Cute. And the komahiki, meaning a horse puller, or kawatora, meaning river tiger, or suiko, meaning water tiger. So they are classified as amphibious yokai. Yokai are a class of supernatural entities. Of course, we're going to go into deeper depth on the yokai because they're an entire class. But full transparency, I love Kappa, so I didn't want to wait because it's my show and not yours. So the kanji, or the characters used to describe the yokai, are a combination of attractive or calamity and apparition mystery. So essentially it's a culmination of both attractive calamity and an apparition or mystery. So kappas are often depicted as green human-like beings with turtle-like shells on their back. The actual word is a contraction of the word kawa, meaning river, and wapa, which is slang for the word child. So they're river boys, river kids. Another possible translation is water sprite because of their supernatural inclinations. Apparently, kappas go by 80 different names depending on the region of Japan that you are in. Some of their alternative names translate to otter, soft-shelled turtle, monkey, alluding that they sometimes resemble these animals. They're also sometimes called steed puller, alluding to the fact that sometimes, I guess, they're known to drag horses into the water, which is wild, but they are notoriously strong. There are actually multiple illustrations of these trollish turtle men. They almost kind of remind me of frog turtle men. They have frog-like limbs in a lot of the drawings. But there are multiple illustrations of them pulling horses into rivers and ponds. They're said to be about the size of a child. They inhabit fresh water, specifically ponds and rivers. And they're known to be clumsy on land. The water is their realm, especially in the warm months, which honestly, I might have to move in with the kappa because I'm just liking everything so far. I'm liking everything. They're typically green. They're sometimes yellow-blue, and they're either scaly or slimy skinned. They are known to have webbed hands and feet and a turtle-like carapace on their back, which I had to Google because I was pretty sure I knew what they meant. But a carapace refers to the pattern/shell mechanism. I'm sure plenty of people out there already knew that word, but I didn't, and I have no shame. So, I'm about to blow your mind. Kappas possess 3 anuses. I'm going to repeat that because I want to. Kappas possess 3 anuses. Oh my God. The reason, okay, wait. backtrack. I don't know if it's the reason, but allegedly, the 3 anuses allows them to pass 3 times as much gas as humans. Sign me up. Okay, before I move on, I want to know what their digestive system looks like. I have so many questions. I've heard of 3 stomachs, but 3 anuses. Does that mean 3 separate digestive tracts? When do they split? Is it 1 stomach and then it turns into 3 small intestines? Are there 3 little intestines? Are there I want to know everything. I want to know everything. Also, maybe I'm being a little bit too crazy, but my mind also goes to butt plugs. The opportunity, the ingenuity, the possibility. I'm speechless. I'm speechless, slightly envious, but I'm happy with where I'm at. I'm happy with 1 anus. I'm happy with my human form for now. This life is less than a century, so I can live with where I'm at. I'm not going to say I would wish for something different, but I will say I'm truly in awe, and I'm happy for Kappa. I'm happy for them. So apparently, even though Kappas are so small, like I said, about the size of a child, they're known to be physically stronger than man. They are said to smell like fish and swim like fish, and some accounts claim that their arms are connected to each other through the torso and can slide from side to side, meaning their arms their arms are like they're one arm that is like a noodle. Again, I really would like to see an anatomical diagram of their skeleton and GI tract or tracts. I'm intrigued and truly in awe of Mother Nature. So here is a critical part of the Kappa anatomy. They're known to have a dish-like ditch in their head, and this little dish, this little indent on their head, holds water. So when they venture onto land, which is rarely, they often use something to cover this ditch so that the water will not fall out. If the water is to fall out of their water dish, they are known to be in a lot of trouble. They can die very quickly, and this can lead to a lot of interesting twists in tales. They're known to love cucumbers, and by love, I mean love. There are actual festivals in Japan where people create cucumber offerings and send them down freshwater rivers in hopes that the Kappa don't kill their family. Apparently, Kappas are also known to love eggplant, soba noodles, and natto, which is fermented soybeans, which kind of sounds like miso, but what do I know? And they also love kabocha, which is a Japanese squash. In Edo, which is old Tokyo, there was a tradition where people inscribed the names of their family onto cucumbers, and they were hoping that, like I said, the Kappas would read these names and spare the lives of their family. But in other regions of Japan, actually, they believed that cucumbers would excite their appetite. And so a lot of those regions avoided eating cucumbers before swimming because they thought that by having cucumber in your stomach, you would be more likely to attack. But in other regions, they would purposely eat cucumbers before swimming, thinking that the Kappas would see them more amicably. Who is to say? So, cucumber sushi, this is a fun fact, everyone. Fun fact. Cucumber sushi is actually called kappa maki. Maki is like a roll. And so they're called kappa rolls, kappa maki. So the next time you eat Japanese food and you see kappa maki, you can impress everyone with your fun facts that you have in your encyclopedia encyclopedic brain. Encyclopedic? Is that a word? It is now. So there's also another subsect of Kappa, or some believe are a cousin to Kappa, known as the Hyosube. They are known to live underwater. They're hairy Kappas, and they come out at night, and they love eggplant. Eggplants are their jam. Their Kappas in general are notorious troublemakers and mischief makers, which is troll energy. Do you see what I'm saying? These are troll affiliates, and I'm loving it. I'm just loving this energy. They like to look up women's kimonos, which is, I don't condone peeping toms. So they're known to look up women's kimonos, which again, not cool people. And in more extreme cases, they're known to drown people and animals. Not so cool. Kidnap children. Ooh, and in some stories, sexually assault women. Or eat human flesh. Yeah, that's pretty intense, honestly. That's a little bit too far. For anyone or anything, that is a little bit too far. Maybe a lot too far. Yeah. That's actually pretty sad. Not gonna lie, that kind of puts me in like a really intense tangent, because anytime I hear about like animals, or in this case like a supernatural being from folklore, I always think about and if there's stories of these things like doing horrible things to humans, I'm also thinking about what humans might have done to them, and then I get really existentially sad because I'm not proud of the human legacy as a whole. There's elements of it that I love, but as a whole, there's a lot of dark history, not even between human to human, but just that extends outwards into nature. And as a lover myself, as someone who loves my planet and loves nature, I wish we could all be nice and we could all be friends. That would be a nice life. No, I'm just saying. Anyway, in some cases, Kappas are actually known to befriend humans and other yokai, which is picking my spirits right back up, you guys. I feel so much better. Young Kappas are known to live in groups as they need to be raised by adults, but at adulthood, Kappas are known to live solitary lives. One of their methods to lure people into water is wrestling. Adult Kappas are known as master wrestlers, and they love to challenge strangers to wrestling matches. Sometimes the reason for these wrestling matches is to win so that they can drink the blood of a human, eat their liver, or, my personal favorite, gain powers by extracting the shirikodama, which is a mythical ball. I should say that better. It is a mythical organ in the shape of a ball located in the anus, and it is said to contain the soul. I love this tale. I love this tale. They believed in ancient Japan that the shirikodama was an organ located up your anus. I am not sure how far. I actually did look it up. There is some question to exactly where or how far in the low intestine the shirikodama was located. From my understanding, it's not far from your opening, and it was said to contain the soul. Now, with just a little bit of thinking, I did think about this. I kind of understand the reasoning, because technically that is your first chakra area. That is where you receive energy from the planet and the universe, and it's your entry point. It's also evolutionarily our first hole. We think of our mouth as our first hole because in our GI tract, that's the chronological order, but the butthole evolved first. Creatures on Earth originally started as very small organisms that had one hole. They'd eat out of one hole, defecate out of that hole, etc. And then, as time goes on, you have sea creatures evolving, like polyps and jellyfish and whatnot. And it's the same story. There's one hole, and not to get crazy, but then eventually GI tracts evolved in the horseshoe shape. They were like U-turns, and they would eat and they would do a little quick U-turn and come right back out. And it took, from my understanding, millions of years for things to evolve to have a mouth. And then eventually, I should do more research, because I'm not sure if the mouth came before alternate defecation holes, but with a mouth comes a more complicated digestive tract. So, there would need to be a hole for urine or for fornication. But, fun fact, birds only have a mouth hole and an exit/entering hole. I mean, there's nothing else. So long story short, I see what they're putting down here. I'm understanding the logic. If I was a philosopher, a wise member of my community, I'm not sure what I would decide, but I may have a similar logic. I just might. Kappas are notorious for victimizing horses and cows, and sometimes other animals, which makes me sad because they don't deserve that. I mean, it's not a competition, but if you're going to antagonize people, antagonize the people, especially if they're being mean, but like, what did cows and horses do? Maybe their soul is worth more, maybe their soul is, I actually know that for a fact. Their soul is probably more pure. So it makes for better powers. That's my opinion. I'm not saying this as a fact in the beliefs. There are ways to deter kappas. There's actually an illustration, believe it or not, of a man repelling kappas by farting in their faces. In this illustration, there is a man lifting up his robes. He is bent over with his bare ass out next to a river, and there is, I think, 3 or 4 kappas in this illustration, and one of the kappas has his face very close to this man's ass, and this man is farting in their faces in order to repel them from his property. I think that's fair. I think that's a very non-violent way to communicate a territory. I think that's fair. Compared to a lot of other ways that we can express get away from me. I think bearing one's bare ass and farting, it's also a sign of vulnerability, exposing your ass to someone. I have no problem with that, honestly. I think that's a pretty mild and pretty sick way. And whoever illustrated this, I just would like to say, God bless you. Bless you and all of your descendants. Apparently, kappas are obsessed with politeness. So a classic way to outsmart a kappa is to bow to a kappa if you were to see it. And by seeing you bow, the kappa would be obliged to reciprocate. And by bowing, it would accidentally spill the water from its head dish, which is actually known as a sara. By losing the water in its head dish, it would be stuck in that position until water from where it lives is returned to its head dish / sara. So, to be clear, you couldn't just go home and get some random old water. You'd have to make sure that you would get water from the river or pond that it lives in. So, if a person was to refill its water, the kappa would serve that human for eternity. Oh, like a friend. Also, another side note is because its arms are technically one arm, it can be easily removed from its body like a noodle And you can actually bargain with the kappa for knowledge or favors in exchange for its noodle arm back. This anatomy is blowing my mind. I want to take a ancient Japanese anatomy class on everything. Like, I want to know human anatomy, kappa anatomy, like everything, because if this what anatomy class entailed, sign me up. Because the kappas like to wrestle, specifically shogi or sumo wrestling, they often challenge humans to test their skills. And like I said, that's kind of, from what I've read, the easiest way to outmaneuver them. Another way, which I heard less about specifically, but they're known to hate iron, sesame, and ginger, which fascinates me. It really does. If you were to win a friendship with a kappa, they are known to be experts at irrigating land, and they will bring fresh fish, which was a symbol of good fortune for anyone who received that fish. They're also known to have an extensive knowledge of medicine, and there's actually an old tale of a kappa teaching bone setting to humans, and they have been known to save a friend human from drowning, which is very nice. They look out for their friends. I really love and respect that. There are variations in specific nuances of the kappa. So in the Shinto tradition, kappa are considered to be avatars of Kenshin, which is... Oh, wait. Let me start that sentence over, because I think I spoke in a way that was confusing. So, kappas are considered to be avatars of the water deity Suijin. Suijin? Suijin. I think it's Suijin. Suijin. I'm going to go with Suijin. I could be wrong. So, basically, this water deity, Suijin, is known as Water Heaven or Water Lord. He is a guardian of fishermen, patron saint of fertility, motherhood, and painless childbirth. Painless childbirth. Oh, I just sounded like a little kid. It was really cute. Which, now that I'm thinking about it, a water deity being a patron saint of fertility and motherhood really checks out, because, as we all know, the water is our ultimate mother. So the kappa are actually thought to be an avatar of this deity. He's known to be a shapeshifter. They would kind of be one of his minions, if you will, one of his extended sight. In other parts of Japan, they practice kappa festivals during the equinoxes, when the kappa travel between the rivers and the mountains and back again. So apparently, I'm not sure which season. I'm pretty sure that I actually don't know. I actually looked this up, and I had issues finding which way they go. But apparently during the equinoxes, they make pilgrimages between the rivers and the mountains. And they do this to ensure good harvest. The humans have festivals for them to ensure good harvests. The most common areas that our kappas are known to live in is in the Iwate prefecture, in the waters of Tono. Nearby that area is a Buddhist temple with komainu dogs. These are statues of these mythical dogs that they also actually have. The statues have indents in their heads. And allegedly, these statues are dedications to kappas, and they are known to be protectors of the temple, specifically from fire, which is so sweet. Apparently, this is going to blow your mind. Apparently, there is a mummified arm of a kappa in the Sogenji Buddhist temple in Asakusa district of Tokyo, and it is said to have been there since 1818. I need to write that down, because when I go to Japan, I want to see the mummified kappa arm. I'm fascinated, and I count me in. According to some old records of the Tono area, there are stories of women becoming pregnant by kappas. Most of the babies, sadly, were considered beastly, and they buried them. Oh, that's so sad. Interestingly enough, there's actually a lot of other cultures that have very similar stories to the kappa. So in China, there is a being called the shuigi. The shuigi. I'm almost 100% sure that I'm pronouncing this incorrectly. That translates to water ghost or water monkey. In Scotland, there's also the kelpie, which is a shape-shifting water spirit that is usually, its usual form is often a black horse. Ooh. And in Scandinavia, there is the nixie, which is a shape-shifting water spirit. They're known to play enchanted songs of violin, luring women and children to drown in lakes and streams, sometimes even luring horses. Ding, ding, ding. That's a big similarity. In the Philippines, there is the yokai, which is considered a merfolk being. They have green, scaly skin, webbed hands and feet, and they're known to kidnap and drown children. Ugh. In the Slavic tradition, there's the vodianoi. In Czech, it is called the vodnik, and it has a frog face. It's a naked old man with a frog face, a greenish beard, long hair, and covered in algae and mulch, black scales, and red eyes. Sometimes they're called grandfather of godfathers by locals, and they're known to drown people. I wonder, because they're called the grandfather of godfathers, I wonder if that's a nod to baptism, because they're known to drown people and your godparents are present at a baptism. So that's just some personal speculation, but I truly wonder if that's if that's kind of like some weird reference to baptism or baptisms. Who's to say? In German, there is the Wassermann. The Wassermann, also known as the Nix or Nickel. They are a male water spirit. They're known to be evil, sometimes ambivalent, and they're known to seduce young girls with a harp and lure them into their underwater kingdom. Fun fact, the female water spirits in the German tradition are known to be good-natured and kind to humans. You're welcome. That checks out. So, that concludes Kappas. I feel so warm and tingly inside. I really love this energy. It's very river troll energy. I also I think I'm changed for life, knowing that it's possible that my soul is stored somewhere in my anus, and that it's possible that in another life I theoretically could have more than one anus. And I'm genuinely excited, and that would actually be fun. Maybe I should draw what I think the intestines and digestive tract of a kappa could be. If you enjoyed this episode, please, I'm a brand new podcast, please write a review. Get me some traction. Please tell some friends. Please write me an email at esotericaandnonsense@gmail.com. Please look me up on Instagram, esotericaandnonsense. I'm going to be opening a TikTok. Tell everyone you know. This is exciting. I'm not going to stop this podcast. I'm starting out strong. I've spent plenty of time doubting myself, so the time is nigh. And please let me know, are there stories you want to hear about? Are there stories that you were told as a child by people in your family? Have you experienced a cryptid, a supernatural being? Have you had wild phenomena happen? Did you grow up in an odd religion or cult? Is there something that I haven't mentioned that you are dying to tell me? Please do. Please send me an email. Thank you so much for listening, and I will be back in 1 week time. Over and out.